Good morning, everybody, and welcome to View from Above. We're so happy to be here with you today, and today we are starting a new series, so thank you for joining us. Of course, it's Ted and Liza. Aren't you excited about this new series?
I'm extremely excited, you guys. God put it into our hearts to deliver this message of high importance to you today. Extremely important message. It's about believing, it's about living, and God just impressed it on our hearts and on our spirits. And we're so blessed that we're able to come to your homes today. It's a personal message that we are just with you and with God together, and we're going to do miracles together today. So get ready, get excited, and we're going forward. So please share this video, tell everybody you know to get on and watch it. This is the most important thing that you will do for yourself and for your life today, Sunday morning. And we're coming to you from a sunny California, from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Not so sunny today. It's a bit kind of gloomy and rainy, but the sun is always shining in our hearts because God is here and we're giving it to you today, live.
Now, this new series is called Live to Believe, and this is part one, Looking for Answers. The reason we're doing this series is because Liza and I, over the years, always encounter a lot of people that are in the midst of trying to understand what is going on out there. I talk to a lot of people who they're not sure if they believe in God. They're not sure if there's something after death, something beyond the physical. But as I talk to them, I realize they really want to know. They're curious, and as I talk to them, they have so many questions. And they're trying to figure out, how can they believe? How can they know for sure that there's something else beyond the physical? How can they know that, it's not just this body and this life and that's it? And so we want to share with you some of our personal experiences and what we've gone through. Because one of the things that people probably don't realize, or that we don't share a lot, but we should probably, is that we haven't always believed in God. In fact, both Liza and I were atheists at some point in our life. I was an atheist for more than a decade, I guess, and Liza was an atheist from the time she was a child until about 30-something, right?
Absolutely, since the time I was born, yes. I was an atheist, yes.
That's right. So we want to share with you, how did we go from not believing in anything beyond the physical to believing in God, to following a spiritual path, to knowing, not only knowing, but really knowing for sure that there's something beyond the physical. And we're hoping that you're going to begin to understand that and embrace that as well, so that you can receive a lot of the blessings that we have received. Now, the first question I want to start to address is, why do we need to believe? And this is an important one. Why do people need to believe? Because I think a lot of people think, well, what's the purpose in believing? But we are designed to believe. It's the way we've been created. We have to believe in something. And if you think about it, we all, from the time we're born, are being taught to believe in something. Even if it's believing that there is nothing beyond the norm. Right, Liza?
Yeah. If you ask somebody, do you believe in God? And they say no. So what do you believe in? They say in nothing, So even though they believe that there is no God, they still believe. They believe that there is nothing. So you are designed to believe. So how you transition from one system of beliefs to another? Why do you need to believe? What is the belief that you are actually exercising in your life? See, the believing constitutes your living. You need to understand it now, how powerful believing is. Whatever you believe, that's what you produce.
Right.
That's why we're talking about this important subject today. See, if you don't like your life, if you don't like what's happening in your life today, if you don't like what your life is producing, okay, that means that what you're believing needs to change.
Right.
And this is the very, very essential point. When we become seekers, right, when we understand that we need to start to believe, that's what we need to kind of start understanding. We need to be open for change.
So the thing that Liza's saying is that your beliefs are creating the situations, manifesting the people, the circumstances, the dramas and the traumas. They're all being created by the beliefs that you now have. And everybody, even if they say they believe in nothing, they're believing in nothing. So they are believing something. And this is the important thing to understand, is in order to change your life, to change your situation, to change your circumstances, you have to change what you believe. I like what Jesus said, because he said, Jesus said to him, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. So when we believe, whatever it is we're believing, that's what we're going to manifest. That's what we're going to have. But now we want to start helping you transition into believing something that's actually good for your life, helps to bring progress, change, blessings into your life, and that's the important thing. But let's talk about first, what was your believing, and what did you get taught? Because we're all taught to believe something. That's how we start to learn. We're taught by our parents, we're taught by our situations, we're taught by our culture. How was it that you started believing when you were a kid, when you were born?
Well, when I was born, I was actually born in the Soviet Union, right? I came to America in 1993. Before that, when I was growing up, we were taught to believe that there is no faith, there is no God. Everybody was so much against the religion. Believing in God was constituted to be like old ages, dark ages. Like, you're so not progressive, you're so behind if you believe that there is God. And especially for people like in urban areas and educated and with high education, it was just so awful. That was part of the culture to believe in God back then.
Now, who taught you this?
Well, the socialist system. We were taught to believe in the party. See, if you don't believe in God,
the Communist Party,
you need to believe in something. So we were taught from the very early age, the entire system was created for you through propaganda, through the system that was created, to believe in something. And believe was to believe in the Communist Party, the communist ideas. Everything that they tell you was supposed to be taken as truth, and you had to obey. Okay, so that was the system of beliefs, and the mass mentality was as such, and it was fear-based. So everybody was just afraid not to believe in the Communist Party. And the culture that was created was such that you were not supposed to believe in God. As soon as the communists took over, they immediately got rid of all kind of religions, so it was not...
Did you have a belief of anything beyond the physical or anything after death? What was the belief about that?
Absolutely not. I remember being a child, when I was 5 years old, and back then I was already I was always able to see spirits, and what was happening around me. And one night, I remember, it's clear as day, I remember it until, I will never forget it. I was laying in my bed, and I was scared because I saw some spirit with me, and, and I started thinking about death and dying, and I came to my father, and I said, Dad, what happens when we die? And the answer was, nothing.
He said nothing.
I said, what do you mean? He said, this is it. It's just dark. And I remember the fear that entered me back then, when I was 5 years old. And it stayed with me up until the time when I received the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
The fear of death was predominant fear of my life. It ran my life, basically. So the fear of death is a predominant fear. And it came from the believing that there was nothing. Okay, this life is it. When you die, there is nothing. Obviously, there was no God. In my family, my father, he still believes there is nothing. Bless his heart, and I pray for him every day.
So it's interesting. This is how you came to believe that there was nothing. That's what you were taught, and I was taught in a much different way. I grew up in a church as a young child, and I was told and taught to believe in God, but I was told and taught to believe in a God that was a punishing God that would look for you, and an angry God, and a God that would strike you down in vengeance. And so this is what I started out believing like that. And after I got to a certain point, because all that was religious doctrine that was being taught to me, there was no foundation in truth or in my life. And when I got to a certain point, I looked at it, and because it wasn't connecting with me and relating to me, I thought this is just a bunch of baloney and doesn't make a lot of sense. And why would I want to follow this God who's just going to punish me anyway?
Right.
And I started to believe in myself. So now notice this. I started to believe in myself because I thought that was better than believing in this God that was always angry and wanting to get me. But I was still believing in something, and I started believing in myself,
So
but
your
I
believing
stopped believing
changed. It just shifted. But
Yeah.
you still had to believe.
in something.
You always have to believe in something. That's
And
the way you design.
I stopped totally believing that there was a God. I did not believe that there was anything beyond the physical. I was totally a physical man, and I only believed in things that I could see, touch, smell, taste, and if I couldn't do that, it did not exist, and I didn't want to hear about it, and anybody that talked to me about something
Right.
like that, I would get very upset, storm out of the room. I didn't want to talk about that stuff. And that's the way I was for more than a decade. I became an atheist, basically, and I believed in myself and lived this life. Now, so for a long time, you were an atheist and believing there was nothing, and for a long time I was too. Now, I want to go on to the next part here that we want to talk about, because at some point that began to change. Now, I want to talk about they're succeeding or struggling. And I think in our lives we come to a point where we start to realize that the way our life is going, something isn't right, something's missing, we start to struggle, we start to have problems, and we start to think there's something's not going on right. And this is something I think a lot of people go through, and the people that we're talking to, quite often they have gone through this, and now that's what they start to question. There must be something else. There must be something else going on. Now, how did this struggle happen in your life?
See, when I was about 27 years old, and I was already here in America, where you can explore, you have the freedom to explore all kinds of systems of beliefs, right? You're not punished by what you believe in. So I started feeling that my life is not working. You know, I wasn't happy. I was struggling big time. Even though career-wise, I was okay. You know, I was very successful, but I was depressed. My marriage wasn't working. Everything that was happening in my life was just crashing down on me, and I had nightmares.
Yes.
I was so deprived of happiness, because, and sleep deprived also, because I was afraid to fall asleep.
Because of the nightmares.
Every night would I go to sleep, you know, I would have nightmares, night after night after night. Once in a while, though, I started having prophetic dreams, meaning I would dream and they would happen. But I started understanding that whatever I tried in my life, and I tried to read books on how to improve. I tried to read books, I tried to talk to people on how to improve, you know, affairs of your life, you know, how to feel happy and so forth and so on. Nothing was helping.
Now, for the most part, your life was, you know, financially you had a good job, you were working. I mean, it wasn't like there was a major disaster, but you just had these things with depression and nightmares, and these things were bothering you, and you noticed your relationships weren't lasting, and you were struggling in that.
Great emptiness inside.
Because I can relate to that on the most part, for me, as I was believing in myself, I thought it was incredible, and I was really having a good life for the most part. I had a successful career, a successful practice. There were many people coming to me and receiving healings and transformations in their life, and they had great testimonials for me, and I was so excited about it. But still, there was a part of me that felt like something was missing. And I don't know what it was, and I can't explain to you what I thought it was at the time. I just felt like there's something got to be bigger than this. And I think this happens for everybody, because
absolutely,
in our lives we start to learn about the physical and the physical world and how to live in the physical world. But at some point we've got to come to the realization that you're not only a physical being, you're also a spiritual being. And there's a spiritual part of you, and there's something beyond the physical. And you've now got to open up and realize what it is and start learning about the spiritual. And I think that's what was happening. Now, I cannot say to you that that's what I knew, because I didn't know that consciously. I just felt like something was missing. And because something was missing, I started to look for it and try to find what it is.
Absolutely.
And so, for the most part, my life was really great, you know, but I just felt some emptiness and something missing in my life.
I remember when this realization came to me, actually, because I was trying so many things and I was listening to people's opinions and was trying to apply it to my life. I was trying to seek for a wise person who will tell me what to do, you know, and I would apply it to my life. Didn't have the results I expected.
So you were asking people.
I was asking people, and I was really trying to analyze my life. I was trying to see what was the mistake that I made. Looking back, I was trying to think, what if I'd done it different way? What if my reaction would have been different? Nothing was working. And that's what started kind of, I believe it was God who dropped it into my heart, that started kind of cultivating inside me. And I understood that there is this system that works kind of in my life and everybody's life, and there is something beyond me and beyond my comprehension, and I really want to know how it works.
Now, I think a lot of people, when we start out, why, you know, it seems to be so hard for us to get from the physical to the spiritual and start to understand that. And I have a quote here to read that I think explains that. But the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him, nor can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. So the things of God, the things of the spiritual, are foolishness to a natural man, to a physical man. I can relate that for myself. When I was that physical man, not believing anything beyond the physical, people would talk about spiritual things, and I thought they were crazy, and I thought
Absolutely.
It was nuts. And it didn't make any sense to me when I would, you know, with my intellectual mind to try to analyze it. It made absolutely no sense, because you cannot understand the spiritual things from an intellectual perspective.
If you are a purely physical person, when you start hearing about the heaven and the works of the Spirit, it makes absolutely no sense to you, because you cannot receive this wisdom just with your physical mind, or your physical body does not agree with this. You're just in conflict to the entire understanding of it, okay? Yeah. But something in us, something in you, I can only speak from my experience, something in me was telling me that I need to find the answers.
Now
I need to find what's not working, but I cannot do it myself. I cannot ask people in my life anymore. The books I'm reading are not helping. I need to get out of this life, the life that I can see, smell, touch, the life that I already know, and I need to go out of this life, kind of seeking answers.
Now you're heading into the third part of what we're talking about today. What made you become a believer? And this is something we want to try to share with you. We only share it from our personal experience and what we've done to help other people believe. But Liza's now beginning to talk about that. And one of the things is, after we start to go through that struggle, there's a point where you come to where you realize you're talking to people, you're trying to figure it out with your mind, and you can't. But at the same time, your heart is seeking the truth. You earnestly and honestly begin to look for the truth. And what I can tell you, because Liza and I had different backgrounds, although we had beliefs that there was nothing beyond the physical, this is a journey I believe a lot of you can identify with.
Right.
And we earnestly and honestly, before we met each other, started to seek the truth, right, and to try to find out what was really happening, what was really going on. And as we began to seek this truth, we were led, and I believe this is part of the divine design, that God now draws us to Him, Amen, in order for us to have revelation and understanding, Amen, about the spiritual world, because we can't live just as a physical person in this life and be happy. And that's something I think that very successful people realize. You know, there's some people that they're highly successful, have incredible amounts of wealth and material goods. And when they reach that point, they realize how unhappy they are, because they're still knowing something else is missing. But it's at that point where you begin to seek the truth. Now something happens.
So before you become a believer in something new, you become a seeker. And God said, seek and you shall find.
Yeah.
So if you're a seeker already, trust me, you will find your truth. You just need to persevere. You need to be consistent. You need to know that you're on the right track, doing the right thing, because you're trying to improve your life. If your desire is coming from your heart, honestly,
mm-hmm,
and trying to persist on what is right and what is true, trying to seek happiness, God will give it to you. Because God created you to be happy. He created you for greatness. He created you to have incredible family, wonderful relationship. He created you to succeed. He's a loving God. And before He created you, He already prepared this plan, a master plan I call it, for every person. You're no exception. He prepared a master plan for you. So when you become a seeker, really, what you are trying to find is this master plan. You're trying to find, I want to know what is it that I need to do in this life, and I want to know how this system works. So what I'm working on, what I'm struggling with, I want to know how to fix it. And see, this is what you need, and that's what I call the real humbleness. You need to be in the teachable spirit first.
Yeah,
that's when you come to the realization you don't know. Okay? That's when you become a seeker, because you're seeking something you don't know,
That's
right?
right.
So that's what happens when you realize that I don't know, but you guys need to realize that God knows, okay? And you need to start getting out of this physical perception and start going beyond the physical perception and into what? Into the spiritual world.
Absolutely.
Maybe in the beginning you will not be able to call God God.
So you were still...
Maybe in the beginning you will not be able to say Jesus. I couldn't. Maybe in the beginning you will call it universe. It doesn't matter to God. If you trust God, He will take you to the next step and to the next step, to the next step. And you need to know that your system of beliefs will be constantly changing. Don't be rigid. You will get stuck. Don't be rigid. If you are doing what we're telling you, if you're listening to the Spirit of God, if you're consistent in seeking personal relationship with God, trust Him. He will take you from one step to another step, and you will go higher and higher and higher.
Let's talk about how you awoke to God, because at the point we got to so far, you were talking about being a non-believer, meaning you don't believe in anything beyond the physical. You don't believe there's anything after death. You don't believe that there's a God. You don't believe in any of that stuff. But you have now seen that your life has problems, and you don't know how to solve them, and you've asked people, and you still haven't gotten answers. And now you have become a seeker with an honest heart, seeking the truth, willing to explore and find out something that is not known to you, that nobody else seems to be able to explain to you. What happened then? How did you go?
I like how you said it. You became a seeker in seeking the truth. See, I was not seeking God. That's what I'm trying to convey to you. My reasons were very selfish. And that's okay.
You were seeking
happiness.
happiness.
I was seeking happiness.
Right.
I just wanted to be happy. I wanted to figure out how this system of life really works.
Yeah.
So I was not seeking God. I was just seeking happiness, and I was trying to find out the truth, the way that it works. So what I started doing, I started kind of realizing that my dreams might contain some answers.
These nightmares that were keeping
the nightmares that were keeping me up. And what happened, I found the book called Dreaming True.
Yeah.
And I found out that this person who wrote the book, you know, is teaching a workshop.
Yeah.
At Big Sur, California area, beautiful place.
So you went to this workshop?
I went to this workshop, and in this workshop, I had a visitation from God. I did not expect it.
And you were in a meditation,
It wasn't planned.
Right?
I absolutely had no idea what I signed up for. It was more of a shamanic journey, you know, and the guy said, I'm going to drum the drum, and you're going to re-enter into your worst nightmare. I didn't want to do it. I really didn't want to do it. I was afraid to. I didn't want to see my nightmares. I didn't want them to be repeated. But they said, hey, I'm in a group of people. I already paid. I'd better do it. And I did it.
Yeah.
Instead of the nightmare, I entered into the world of the Spirit. And I had a visitation. Jesus and Mary came to me. And Jesus took me by my hands and He said, you're one of us. You're going to go back and you're going to bring people to me. And at that moment, I thought, either I'm crazy or I don't know what this guy wants from me. I don't know what's happening, you know. But what I felt at this moment changed my life.
What did you
I
feel?
felt such a peace that I've never felt before. It felt like I was transported into the world of happiness immediately. I was breathing uncontrollably because I believe the Spirit was coming into me. Now I can explain what happened to me.
Right.
But back then, I was not a believer yet. I was just the seeker. And God found me. See, when you seek the truth...
Because you weren't looking for God.
No! I was looking for happiness. But when you seek the truth, when you seek to improve your life, God starts providing for you and He finds you. I believe that's what He did for me. I would have never believed a man or a woman who would have come to me and told me, you need to believe because God will do it for you. I would have said, no, you know what? Get out of here.
In this meditative state, you had this encounter with God. And at that point, it opened to you a whole realization that there's something beyond the physical. There's something else going on besides this physical body, this physical life, and everything you've been taught. You saw, it was like the window or the veil was lifted, and now you saw that. And that was the same thing that happened to me. I wasn't seeking God. In fact, I was running from God, and anybody that talked about God or religion, and I don't care what religion it was, I would run the other way. And I went to this workshop, much like you did, a different kind of workshop, and we were meditating on colored lights. And I remember after the third meditation, I sat there on my chair, and I felt like something wasn't right in my body. And as I sat there, I closed my eyes, and I began to see myself go down a tunnel. And there was no light at the end of the tunnel. You hear about people going down these tunnels, and there's light at the end. There was no light, but I saw myself going down this tunnel, and it opened something incredible to me at that moment. And this was after the meditation that I was having this experience. And suddenly I felt this rush into my body like 10,000 volts of electricity. And it was the most powerful feeling of love and peace that I'd ever known. I'd never, ever known anything like that. And it felt incredible. And I knew at that moment, this is what I really was looking for my life. And I started feeling this amazing, I mean, the experience is very long, so I'm not going to share the whole thing here. But the thing I know, as I look back on that, I know that I had this personal encounter with God and that His Spirit entered me. And I was breathing heavily too.
Yes.
I was having this really heavy breathing that I couldn't control and couldn't stop. And it was the Spirit of God entering me, transforming me, opening me. Because I believe that we have physical eyes that are open right now, obviously. But I believe we also have spiritual eyes. And at that moment when the Spirit entered me, I believe my spiritual eyes were able to open to being able to perceive and lead me now into the spiritual things and the things of God so that I could begin to walk on that part of my life. Because we're physical beings, but greater than that, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And we've got to awaken. And that's what happened with both Liza and I. We awoke to something now, and now we started to see and perceive something else beyond. And we started knowing that not only is there a spiritual and that we are spiritual beings, we started experiencing God as well.
Now, is it only you and me? Are we kind of like freaks of nature?
No,
we're not. Is it just the only thing that happens just to you and me?
No. In fact, we've encountered many other people. Remember the lady that was...
We facilitated experiences for other people. We've seen it for many times, how a person in a split second will turn from a seeker to a believer. And that happens when the Spirit of God lands on you, okay? We were describing to you the experience, the meeting with the Holy Spirit, with the Spirit of God. You can call it whatever you want, but the breath of God entered into me, the breath of God entered into Ted, and immediately we changed. We changed on the inside. Yeah. And that's what happens.
We were transformed.
The change comes from the inside. I am a personal testimony to the power of God. Ted's life is a testimony to the power of God.
And we were not seeking God.
Nope.
We were seeking happiness. We were seeking peacefulness. And as we were seeking the truth, we found it. And it was God that revealed Himself. He pursued us. I was running from Him, but He pursued us. The same thing happened. Remember, we had this Bible study this one time, and there was a lady that came, and she came with her boyfriend only to support her boyfriend. And she made it very clear. She told me. She said, look, I'm only here to support him. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in this stuff. And I'm just here because he needs my support, and so I've come for that. She made it very clear. Right. I don't believe in any of this stuff. I was like, hey, fine, because I understood that. I was there once before, so I knew her perspective. And so we went into
didn't kick her out.
We didn't kick her out, no. But we went into this meditation. Basically, I read a verse from the Bible, and we went into a meditation on that verse. And it was about 7 minutes, a meditation on this verse, the Word of God. And when we opened our eyes, this lady was sobbing. And when she shared her story, she said...
And we were surprised by that, Wow,
but she was hard. She was angry,
yes,
when she first was
talking.
talking.
When she came, she was angry.
Suddenly she was soft, and she was crying tears of joy. Because what happened in this meditation that she didn't want to be a part of... Well, I guess she came because she was a part of it. God came to her and talked to her, and He told her beautiful and wonderful things about her, and that He believed in her, even though she didn't believe in Him. So here's somebody who...
I remember what she said when we asked her, what happened? Why are you crying? She said, I think I just met God.
Yeah,
and I remember
right,
this innocent expression on her face. How surprised she was that she actually could see and talk to God and meet Him face to face. And that's what we're talking about with you guys. We're not talking about religion. Forget it. We're not talking about your upbringing. It happened, it's in the past. We're not talking about all the traumas and dramas that happened to you in the past. We're talking to you about becoming a seeker first, and it's okay to do it for the selfish reasons. I think that's the plan of God, okay? It's okay to do it for the selfish reasons. Looking for happiness is not selfish for God, because He wants you to be happy. He designed you to be happy. So first you need to understand, since you're watching us today, you're already a seeker. Now, if you transitioned into the status of the believer, but believer not only into the physical, but believing that there is something greater than yourself, then now it's the time to become receptive, to become teachable, so God really can come to you and go to work, so you can receive His teachings. And you know what?
And you receive it in a very personal way, because
absolutely.
Our experiences and this ladies that we shared, we were having a meditative kind of experience, and God came to us, and God spoke to us, and He began to reveal to us. None of us were looking, but God was looking for us. So we had a personal encounter. We have facilitated and helped hundreds of people have these same kind of encounters. You just need to be in the right space and be open and be seeking the truth. And if you're looking for what the truth is, it will find you. And the door will be opened, and you will receive this blessing. And this is something that we're doing for people all the time. We're so blessed to be a part of this. And the reason we do that for you is because this is the way that our life was changed and transformed. This is how we found the joy and the love. We didn't know each other when we had these experiences, but I know that that was the door that opened, that put me on the path to lead me to my partner. That was the door that opened to put me on the path to my purpose, to my destiny. That was the path that opened, or the door that opened to put me on the path to feeling the love and the joy that was lacking and missing in my life. And this is the beautiful thing that all of you can experience too. You just have to, with an honest heart, start to look for answers. Looking for answers is what today's message is called. And if you open your heart and begin to seek, you will receive it. You will find it.
I want to say one thing to you, that many people say that, oh, God is a mysterious God. I want to tell you just the opposite, that God is a revealer of mysteries. So every mystery that looks so mysterious to you, God knows the answer to it. He is a revealer of mysteries. You start seeing God. You start believing what He tells you. You start acting on what He tells you. You start having personal relationships with God. And you will become so wise. And every mystery will be unfolding in front of your eyes. And you will understand the genius behind it and how simple it really is. So right now, I believe we need to do a prayer for our people.
Let's do it.
Right now, you guys, is your chance. If you're a seeker, that's okay. God will find you. If you're a believer, that's even better, because right now you're going to receive the breath of the Spirit. Right now, all the interruptions, all the intruders that were in your life that were stopping your happiness from becoming so strong, and from, if you still have the void in your heart and you're still struggling with receiving love, God will fill this void today. If you're still struggling with relationships in your life, today, because you're watching us, because you're a seeker and you're becoming a believer in something greater, today you will receive the love and the spirit of unity, because all of these things come to you through the spirit of love, which is the Spirit of God. So right now I want you to open your heart and close your eyes. And just simple word, believe. I want you to say it in your heart. Just say, I believe. I believe, God, that you created me for greatness. I believe that my wonderful life is just beginning. And now I want you to do something extraordinary. Now say to God directly, say, Lord, come into my heart. Come into my heart. Fill me up with your Spirit. I believe that my life is changing right now. I receive my happiness. I receive my blessing. I receive my joy. I receive my life with you. And guys, I believe and declare, since you opened your heart and asked the Spirit of God to enter you, I believe that your happiness is coming into your life right now. I believe and declare that you are blessed, that you're highly favored, that everything is changing in your being on the inside right now to allow this blessing to come in and start manifesting new realities. Now, I want you to say something else. Now you say, I believe. And now I want you to say, I receive. And now open your eyes. And I want you to say again with your eyes open, I receive.
I receive.
And now I want you to praise God for these new revelations, opening new opportunities to you, because I believe and declare that you received new purpose in your life. You received new chapter of your life. You will be filled with happiness from now on. You will have new opportunities and doors opening in front of you. Your life is changing. New career is just landed into your lap. You are receiving love right now. The Spirit of unity is working already. So right now, I want you to believe that God is working in your life. You are blessed and highly favored. And keep doing the great work, the work of love. Together with God, you're no longer alone. I believe that all good things will start happening to you from this moment on.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I know you received that. Thank you for coming into our... I'm glad we could come into your house, I should say. And I want you to come back next week again, 11 o'clock, same time, because we're going to continue this series on Live to Believe. We're going to continue to share our personal experience with you and help you to understand that it's okay to be seeking, it's okay to be looking, and it's okay to have a personal relationship with God and an encounter with Him, because He's got so much love for you that He wants to just pour down upon you every single day. You're blessed and you're highly favored. And I'm so lucky that you're here with us, that we can share this with you. Thank you so much, and have a great week.
If you want to know more about the spiritual world and how it works, and learn more about the dreams and dreaming and how to tap into the mysterious word of God, join our group on Facebook. Tell your friends to join. We talk about dreams, we talk about interpretations, we talk about traveling to heavens, talking to God face to face, receiving your destiny. So stay with us, bring your friends, we're going to do it together. We love you and God loves you. We will see you soon. Be blessed.
Thank you.